New tonight, an update to a story we brought you last week. A mid-state college receives a failing grade on its inspections for its dining facilities. And tonight, the facility has a new grade, but the college could also be on the hunt for a new vendor to handle its dining services. Our Nick Gibson joining us live now after investigating that report. And Nick, that report taking many by surprise at that college.
Yeah, that's right, Aaron. I spoke with the representative from Middle Georgia State University today, and she tells me she was shocked when the score came in about their dining facilities. Although after reinspection and a grade of 89, Middle Georgia State University is looking for another food vendor.
The score was a 98, so I was shocked. I was very upset, very disappointed. Our students deserve better than that.
Middle Georgia State University's Cochran campus received a 50 score on their dining facilities following Thanksgiving break. Some notable violations were in multiple cold holding units, foods were rotting, paper towels unavailable at hand wash sinks, and unwrapped cheese, deli meats, and prep items had no date marking. One MGSU representative tells me what they are trying to do to correct this issue.
Going forward, we're just going to have more oversight of the contractor. We're going to make sure that our Director of Auxiliary Services is on site in Cochran more. We are going to review the logs that when they do something, when they clean this or whatever, they record it in a log, and we will review those logs to make sure that they're keeping up with that.
Since receiving the 50 rating, the facility was retested and scored an 89. Wgxa releasing a statement regarding the new score reading in part, the safety and security of Middle Georgia State University students, faculty, staff, and community continue to remain our top priorities. Unfortunately, it was too late. Last Friday, the school decided to cut ties with Wgxa and is now searching for a new vendor. One student tells me he is concerned about eating in these dining facilities.
That was an eye-opener. It makes me feel kind of unsafe eating the food there because I don't want to, come down with a stomach bug or anything like that.
Now, I did reach out to Melissa Brantley from the Georgia Department of Public Health. She tells me that everything in the dining facilities was corrected and they received an updated score of 89. Reporting from the studio, I'm Nick Gibson.
Nick, thanks. Developing now, 2 people are without a home after a house fire yesterday afternoon. That fire happened on West Cliff Circle off of Watson Boulevard in Warner Robins. One home is a total loss. A neighboring home suffered some serious damage. The owner of that home telling us it's been in her family for decades.
I bought this house with money I inherited from my mother, and it means everything to me. So I just pray it's salvageable because it's her, it's a part of her. So that's all that means to me.
No one was injured. Officials haven't yet released the cause of that fire. An update tonight as a family is trying to get back on their feet this holiday season after a fire destroys their home on Nansalon Circle in Macon. Homeowner Wgxa says she was at work while her mom was home with her 7 children last Wednesday. She got a call from her son saying their house was up in flames. Wgxa says at that moment she was shocked and left work as fast as she could.
My house is on fire. My kids. That's all I could think about was my kids. Everybody that know me knows that my kids are my everything. So it's like my kids. That's all I was worried about.
Wgxa says she almost lost everything. She says that fire started from a dryer in the laundry room, which fire department officials confirmed. Clothing donations for the children are now being collected. We've actually posted the sizes for the children on our website, wgxa.tv. New at 10, deputies in Butts County making a large drug bust after stopping a vehicle on I-75. They say they found 52 pounds of meth in a car. 2 people were arrested and charged with trafficking meth. All right, turning to weather now. Boy, we are in for a pretty warm night, and that means warm weather tomorrow, too. That's always good. Jeff Cox is in the Skywatch Weather Center, tracking it all for us. Jeff, good evening to you.
Aaron, good evening to you, and good evening, everyone. Welcome into the Skywatch Weather Center. No doubt about it, it has been much colder in recent days and weeks, so tonight, just after 10 o'clock, upper 50s and low 60s, yeah, we'll take it. That's after some 70s this afternoon, and I think tomorrow, get this, is going to be even warmer. So something to look forward to. Generally speaking, Warner Robins North, we've got the 50s. South of Warner Robins, the 60s holding strong. 66 right now in Cordell, McRae, and Mount Vernon. Compare that to 48 in Sparta. So a huge spread in temperatures tonight. Certainly a night where you'll have to trust your backyard thermometer. Let's take you into downtown Macon, where we've got a brand new camera thanks to the Macon Convention and Visitors Bureau. They've posted this on EarthCam, so folks around the world can sneak a peek at the Christmas lights along Poplar Street. Oh, it's such a beautiful show, and we're going to be using this camera all season long. 53 in downtown right now, no wind to speak of. All right, school day forecast for your Tuesday. Right around 60 at the bus stop. Low 70s by lunchtime and mid 70s for the ride home, but there comes the rain chance. So I think the morning hours are dry, other than a little mist and drizzle with fog. Better chance for rain in the afternoon. So coming up later in this show, the wacky temperatures, we'll talk about that. Several rain chances we're tracking. And before the end of this hour, climate change and economics. New data on that, plus your 10-day forecast. A lot to go over in this newscast.
We'll see you then. New tonight, we're learning House Democrats are poised to unveil 2 articles of impeachment against President Donald Trump tomorrow. But it was a day full of confrontation on Capitol Hill in what may be one of the last House hearings on considering impeachment charges. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman has been monitoring it all from Washington.
From countless gavel slams to arguments.
Point of order is he's inappropriate to be up here asking questions.
An outburst, and even an attempt to shame Democrat Adam Schiff from not attending, though he wasn't obligated.
Where's Adam? Where's Adam?
The divisive nature of impeachment proceedings couldn't have been more blatant as the Judiciary Committee heard summaries of the investigation so far in hopes of choosing which, if any, charges the president should face.
President Trump put himself before country.
My son, our children, our grandchildren, they will study this moment in history. They will learn about all of your actions.
Republicans argued that any desire by the president to see Ukraine investigate Joe Biden and his son's work there was about national security, and never was it under pressure or used as leverage for access to the White House or military aid. Opting not to take part or send his attorneys, the president observed from the sidelines.
I watched a little bit, very little. It's a disgrace, and it should never, ever be allowed to happen again.
There are famous lines from Nixon like, what did the president know and when did he know it? From the Clinton impeachment, there was, I did not have sex with that woman. What would be known about this one is probably, where's the impeachable offense?
That'll likely be answered in the coming days as the Judiciary Committee decides which charges to pursue, if any, and then have that sent over to the full House for a vote possibly next week in that push to get things done before the holidays. On Capitol Hill, I'm Scott Thuman.
New challenges coming out of the Supreme Court surrounding abortions in one state. We'll break down that decision and how it affects abortions going forward. Happening now, the Supreme Court rejecting a challenge to a Kentucky abortion ultrasound law. The law requires a doctor, while performing a pre-abortion ultrasound, to describe the image and make the fetal heart tone audible to a patient. Challengers, including an abortion clinic, brought a First Amendment challenge, arguing that the law forced a patient to see the images even if she didn't want to. Kentucky argued the law is simple and straightforward, calling it part of an informed consent process. Tonight, a neighborhood group in Asheville, North Carolina is calling for change when it comes to needle exchange programs. The members say they oppose weak laws and organizations that lack any real treatment attempts. But one of the changes proposed means one county's needle exchange program would no longer be able to operate.
County. Just ask Hazel Ledwell.
They're leaving them on our playgrounds, just in the park, on the sidewalk, everywhere. We're finding needles. You go down to the Goodwill bus stop and there's 5 or 6 a day.
A roughly year-old harm reduction initiative through Buncombe County Health and Human Services is hoping to alleviate that and in turn connect people to care.
People who go into syringe exchange programs are 5 times more likely to enter treatment, and that's national data.
But a West Asheville neighborhood group wants stricter requirements on how those needle exchange programs operate. Legislation proposed by the West Asheville Neighborhood Alliance calls for marked symbols or logos on all supplies to identify the needle exchange program. It It would also require renewal every year with logs to verify licensed practitioners. Participants must also enroll in rehab programs. Amy Upham wouldn't address the proposed legislation directly, but she did say why the county's program doesn't require participants to get connected to care.
Everything about harm reduction is non-coercion, and that's why it works. People who are at this level of disease oftentimes have not seen a healthcare professional in years, so it would not be wise to have their first visit to be coercive because they just wouldn't follow up, potentially.
The other big difference, the group does not want stationary needle exchange programs within a 3-mile radius of a school zone. That means the program the County Health and Human Services runs couldn't operate. Hall Fletcher, for example, is about 2 miles from the location.
I think we've saved about 20 lives since we started with naloxone because we've had 20 reports of reversals.
And on the flip side, do you know how many deaths you've had?
We have not heard of any deaths.
More details emerging tonight out of the Pensacola shooting. One of the victims actually grew up here in Georgia. We'll hear from his teachers as they walk us through their favorite memories of him. Now, a California man accused of posting videos simulating a mass shooting has pleaded not guilty to charges of child abuse and possession of an assault weapon. The judge said Steve Wgxa was a danger to the community and set his bail at $1 million. Well, in court, prosecutors described disturbing videos that show him aiming guns at unsuspecting pedestrians from inside his hotel room and saying boom as he pretends to fire the weapon. Police searched his home and found more than a dozen weapons. He'll be back in court on December 18th. Developing now, 12-year-old in Florida is facing charges after authorities say she threatened to attack a school. The Broward County Sheriff's Office says the Falcon Cove Middle School student posted 2 threats on Snapchat. One of those threats included a hit list with about 10 students' names on it. Students at a nearby high school showing local media a screenshot of one of the threats that circulated.
Didn't get to shoot anybody up today. You're still never safe from me. Monday, you're dead.
Deputies found the girl Friday evening where she admitted to the crime. She's being charged with 2 counts of communicating a written threat to kill and false reporting concerning a firearm. Continuing coverage tonight as the FBI is moving ahead in its investigation into the terror attack on a Florida air base. As a community mourns the loss of 3 sailors killed at Naval Air Station Pensacola, officials are honing in on the motive of the shooter, Saudi Air Force officer Mohammed al-Shamrani, who reportedly posted a manifesto online just before that shooting, calling America a nation of evil.
Of course, what happened in Pensacola has to inform on our ongoing relationship with Saudi Arabia. That is the message I directly delivered to the Saudi ambassador when she called to offer her condolences.
Former FBI agent Brad Garrett says the close relationship could also help in the investigation. The Secretary of Defense has said he's confident this shooting will not undermine U.S.-Saudi relationship. President Trump said over the weekend the Saudi king will take care of the families and loved ones of the victims. Airman apprentice Cameron Walters, one of the 3 sailors killed in that shooting, was from Richmond Hill, Georgia. That's just south of Savannah, and actually grew up in Rincon. Katie Filling talked to some of Walters' high school teachers who say they're not surprised he grew up to be a hero.
Do something great. I just didn't know it would be the loss of his life and his greatness.
21-year-old Cameron Walters was a student at the Naval Air Station in Pensacola, Florida. When a Saudi Air Force trainee opened fire in a classroom, Cameron didn't run from danger. He was shot and he died a hero. Before he was a student at the Navy Training Center, he was a student at Effingham County High School, and his teachers remember him.
For Cameron, he was just a comical young man. You come across these kids, every year that are just different, and Cameron was one of those.
They say he was sweet and kind.
What a nice kid he was. Everybody talks very positive about him and what a good kid he was and what a respectful kid he was.
She says he was quiet at times, but usually had a smile on his face.
And they always take a piece of your heart and you always wish them to be successful. And I think Cameron was being successful, but he was just a great kid. He was just a good human being.
Henry Dickerson had Cameron in a career technical education class for 3 years. It focused on criminal justice and law enforcement. Dickerson says Cameron expressed interest in going into the military.
So I went and looked up the core values of the Navy: honor, courage, commitment, and I knew that about Cameron, back when he was in my class. So there was definitely something different about him.
Jennifer Hayes taught him history as a freshman. She says she now knows that she taught a hero.
He was working to make this a better country, and to know that he's gone so young is very difficult.
His teachers didn't know Cameron's family personally, but they say they raised a great man.
Knowing how he was, and he had to have come from great people.
Reporting in Effingham County, I'm Katie Filling.
Katie, thanks for that report. Welcome into the Skywatch Weather Center, 1018, the current time. A busy weather map for the next couple of days. We've got a cold front that is going to be crossing the eastern third of the nation. That means moving right here through Georgia, and it's going to bring a little bit of everything for everyone. So let's break it down day by day for you. Tomorrow, very warm ahead of this cold front. Middle Georgia, you will be in the mid to upper 70s. Southwest Georgia, I think we can get you up to around 80 tomorrow afternoon. Enjoy it though. It's a one-day break from the colder weather. That'll come back as soon as Wednesday. Cold front comes in tomorrow evening and through the day Wednesday, and that brings more clouds and wet weather. Then on the backside of the cold front, the chilly stuff settles in. So that'll mean high temperatures back in the 50s and overnight lows back in the 30s by Thursday morning. So a brief warm up tomorrow. Enjoy it while it lasts. So tonight I want to walk you through the rain chance day by day and hour by hour so you can make your plans. Here in Middle Georgia first, our simulated radar. Notice the timeline tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. We're waking up to plenty of cloud cover. There could be some fog and drizzle and mist, but I think the better chance of rain holds off until the afternoon. I don't expect widespread rain. Tomorrow is not a washout, but we will have a few showers pop up during the afternoon and evening. That'll move through tomorrow night, and then Wednesday we'll have another chance of showers come through. So plenty of clouds Wednesday morning and some off and on rain throughout the day. I think Wednesday looks wetter than Tuesday, so keep that in the back of your mind for planning purposes. Long term, we have another good rain chance that comes in Friday, so we're up in the soaker range on Friday. We'll dry out for the weekend, and then another shot of rain comes in early next week. Let's go to Southwest Georgia. Similar story, simulated radar. By tomorrow afternoon, spotty shower popping up. I think we'll get some sunshine tomorrow in Southwest Georgia. That's one of the reasons we'll make it to 80 degrees. Then as we go through tomorrow evening, those showers move through, and then a second chance of rain comes in during the day on Wednesday. I think the best chance for rain in Southwest Georgia is north of Albany, north of Sylvester, north of Tifton. Does that mean Valdosta and Moultrie can't get rain? No, not necessarily, but the further north you are, the better chance of rain you have. Here's the chance of rain over the next 10 days for Southwest Georgia. And again, Friday's weather maker looks to be especially wet. So we're in the soaker range on Friday. The weekend is dry. And then another round of rain early next week, especially on Tuesday. The moral of the story is I don't really see too many in the way of washouts until potentially Friday. But let's keep the rain gear close by, as every day pretty much has a rain chance. All right, here's what it looks like on the 10-day forecast. For Middle Georgia, 77 tomorrow with a few showers in the afternoon and evening. Better chance of rain on Wednesday, more rain on Friday, 60s but dry this weekend. In Southwest Georgia, 80 tomorrow, followed by 50s Wednesday and Thursday, 60 by Friday, sunshine and 60s for the weekend. We've got more news and weather still to come.
All right, Jeffrey, are you smarter than a fifth grader? How some elementary students might be getting a head start for a career in computer science. Getting an early start to a booming job market, that's what some elementary school students are doing by learning how to code. Our Aaron Wise shows us how this exposure is helping the students reach future career goals. Aaron.
Students at L.H. Williams Elementary School here in Macon participated in a nationwide hour of computer coding, an hour that is dedicated to teaching the basics of coding, as well as giving students an opportunity to develop a passion for computer science.
And students realize, oh, I just coded that. There's one line of code, there's two lines of code, there's three lines of code.
Ward says coding teaches students problem solving and logical thinking, while encouraging them to be creative and stay persistent when troubleshooting. Fourth graders at Williams Elementary spent their hour working on an interactive program to create dance moves.
They're choosing their characters, and then they're using block coding. They're connecting the blocks so that their characters will move in different ways at different times.
Hour of Code is not only a fun activity, it is an opportunity for early exposure to a potential career path.
It's great for them to have a good understanding of exactly how those video games and whatnot that they are playing, how those are coded, and to realize that, hey, you know, if I'm really good at this, one day I may be able to be a computer programmer and write code myself.
Thurston hopes this is only the beginning of coding for many of her students.
I want them to have that little bitty bite of it today so that maybe that seed that's planted will grow into something that will be great for the students.
A seed that has already been planted in one fourth grader's mind.
It's pretty fun making the dancers dance, like pitting stuff together. I really want to make coats and stuff.
Now, Williams Elementary used a free interactive website for Hour of Code to help ensure students like Kiana Solomon had access to coding activities while at home to help fine-tune their computer science skills. Reporting in Macon, I'm Erin Wise.
Aaron, thanks so much. Current time 10:25. Recovery efforts are underway in New Zealand following a volcanic eruption. Several of those missing are tourists from the United States and the UK.
No signs of life have been seen at any point.
Government officials say they're now shifting to a recovery operation after New Zealand's volcanic eruption. The volcano erupted on White Island Monday, sending ash and steam thousands of feet into the air.
The pilot that went out there and spent about 45 minutes has provided a pretty good indication that we do not believe anybody else has survived that explosion.
At least 5 people have died. More than 24 others suffered injuries. Among those missing and injured, tourists from the U.S., UK, and Australia. Several of those people were passengers from Royal Caribbean's Ovation of the Seas cruise ship. White Island sits nearly 30 miles offshore from the mainland. Experts say 70% of the volcano lies under the sea. It's considered one of the country's most active cone volcanoes.
You could just see the plume developing rather rapidly, and in the space of about 45 seconds.
Rescue teams from surrounding areas traveled to New Zealand to help with search and recovery. A large amount of ash is affecting those efforts. New Zealand Defence Forces plan to send in drones to further examine the area.
To those who have lost or are missing family and friends, we share in your unfathomable grief at this moment in time and in your sorrow. Your loved ones stood alongside Kiwis who are hosting you here.
And the latest tonight, officials have told teams the area is too unstable for people to walk around. They plan to look into whether or not tourists should be allowed to visit at a later date. Aaron?
Safety concerns coming out of a report Uber sent out just last week. Tonight we're breaking down those numbers and what the company plans to do to decrease it. Plus, we're learning more about the suspected shooter at a naval air station in Pensacola. How officials say he got his hands on a gun in the first place. Continuing coverage, we've learned the gunman who killed 3 people at Naval Air Station in Pensacola took advantage of an obscure loophole in federal gun laws to legally purchase the handgun used in Friday's mass shooting. Andrea Ramey explains how a Saudi citizen was able to get his hands on the gun in the U.S.
The FBI says Saudi pilot Mohammed al-Shamrani bought the Glock 45 9mm gun used to murder 3 sailors at NAS Pensacola.
He did purchase it legally and lawfully.
A revelation that surprised Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis, a former naval officer himself.
I was not aware of that. I had always thought that foreign nationals, except for certain law enforcement, just were not allowed to purchase firearms.
The ATF has the process listed on their website. There is readily available public information for you to get that and how they can purchase a weapon lawfully. And it's not just him, but any foreign national.
It says it right here on page 19 of the ATF's Federal Firearms Regulations Reference Guide, which spells out exceptions where immigrants here in the U.S. legally can purchase a gun. One exception is possessing a hunting license that's been issued in the United States. a loophole law enforcement sources tell CNN and NBC al-Shamrani used to buy the 9mm handgun.
You know, I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment, but the Second Amendment applies so that we, the American people, can keep and bear arms. It does not apply to Saudi Arabians.
A loophole that proved lethal Friday. Andrea Ramey reporting.
Andrea, thanks for that report. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jeff Cox in the Skywatch Weather Center, tracking some warm weather over the next 24 hours, but you better enjoy it because it will be short-lived. Temperatures tonight across middle Georgia, boy, talk about a wide range. Sparta, you're at 48 degrees right now. We've had that wedge in place, that northeasterly wind, and in middle Georgia, it carves out colder weather for our northeastern counties. Compare that to McRae and Cordell, who are sitting at 65 right now. Same in Soperton, so nearly a 20-degree spread north to south. For the Macon metro area, we're in the upper 50s right now. Cloud cover will keep temperatures elevated overnight, and that means warm weather tomorrow. Look at what I'm forecasting for middle Georgia tomorrow afternoon. Mid-70s for the metro area, upper 70s, close to 80 in our southeastern counties. Believe it or not, this is pretty common in December. The Macon area averages 6 days every December with temperatures in the 70s. So enjoy this. Again, short-lived. Look at southwest Georgia. It is warm out there tonight. Albany's still reporting 78. I suspect that's an outdated observation from the airport. 60s are generally the theme. No doubt about it. It's comfortable out there tonight. Look at the 67 in Tifton. But check this out for tomorrow. Albany, I'm forecasting 80 tomorrow afternoon. Same for Leesburg and Newton, down to Camilla and Moultrie. How about Nashville, 81. Pearson and Homerville, 82 tomorrow afternoon. Incredibly warm for this time of year. So these wacky temperatures, we'll break it down day by day because, boy, we've got a roller coaster ride. Several rain chances to talk about. I'll have that day by day. And before the end of this half hour, we're combining climate change and economics. Some new research from our partners at Climate Central. That plus your 10-day forecast is coming up.
Tonight, one ride-sharing company recently released its U.S. safety report, which revealed thousands of reported sexual assault incidents. Ariel Mallory joining us live tonight, breaking down those numbers and how you can best prevent from being one of them. Ariel, what'd you find out?
Now, between 2017 and 2018, Uber reported up to 5,981 sexual assault incidents. Now, breaking those numbers down into 5 different categories, non-consensual touching of a sexual body part was the highest with up to 3,000 reports. Now, Uber does say, however, that they did see a 16% decrease in those numbers of those 5 categories. Now, Crime Prevention Officer Dillard Glover says one of the most important things that riders don't pay attention to is making sure they are getting in cars that are actually Uber drivers. Just this past April, a 21-year-old South Carolina student was killed after mistakenly getting into the wrong vehicle. Now, this did result in the ride-sharing company updating many of its safety measures. Glover says not being aware of your surroundings could be a fatal mistake.
When you fill out the app and you call for somebody to come get you, is to stay with a group of people or stay inside till that vehicle gets there. And on your app, you will actually see when that vehicle is supposed to arrive. You know, that's a really potential fatal mistake in and of itself.
Now, to prevent more reports of this happening, Uber did add several new safety features to its apps. One of those features is an in-app emergency button that you can use to immediately alert 911 callers if you are in a dangerous situation. Reporting live in Albany, I'm Ariel Mallory.
Police in Milton, Georgia, about 30 miles north of Atlanta, say a suspicious man tried to speak with children and ask them to look for a lost child in a nearby woods. Witnesses say the man is light-skinned, wore sunglasses, and drove a dark-colored vehicle. Police reminding all parents and their children tonight not to speak to strangers and to report any suspicious activity. A Georgia Army officer under arrest tonight for allegedly sharing nude photos of a teenage girl online and discussing plans to drug the girl and have sex with her. An FBI agent traced the photos to a computer in Army Major Jason Musgrove's Georgia home. Musgrove is assigned to the Army Cyber Command at Fort Gordon in Augusta, where he works as an integrated Targeted Threats Operations Officer. A special needs teacher in Ackworth, Georgia, is out on bond tonight after being charged with cruelty to children. Police say Kelly Lewis made a child sit in his own feces to prove a point to him about bathroom habits. An arrest warrant claims the boy's skin became red and irritated, and he also suffered mental anguish from that incident. And a Byron teen facing more than a dozen felony charges for entering autos and criminal trespass. Lenny Gupton was spotted by a resident on Hudson Street just after 2 a.m. Police say Gupton had items on him that had been stolen from the Woodland Drive neighborhood. 18 vehicles had been broken into in that area. Gupton was out on bond for related crimes in Houston County when he was arrested. And a 17-year-old in McDonough is being charged with murder for the deaths of 2 Georgia teens found dead in a car Thanksgiving Day. Alahan Joyner is charged with the murder of Savannah Fulmer and Demir Robinson. Fulmer was pregnant at the time of the killing, and because of that, Joyner is also being charged with feticide. A warning issued by President Trump on Twitter getting some backlash following a missile test. The response tonight from North Korea next. Tonight, a 435-page report dropped by the Justice Department's Inspector General is debunking so-called deep state conspiracy theories about the motivation behind the Russia investigation launched into the Trump campaign. Well, as Reed Binion reports, it's sparking contrasting reactions tonight from both sides of the political aisle.
There was no illegal wiretapping, there were no informants inserted into the campaign, there was no spying on the Trump campaign. Former FBI Director James Comey in a Washington Post opinion piece defending the FBI's role in the investigation into possible collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia.
Finally, the truth gets told.
This report conclusively debunks the baseless conspiracy that the investigation into Mr. Trump's campaign and its ties to Russia originated with political bias.
Despite shutting the door on deep state conspiracy theories, the Justice Department Inspector General's report did find significant errors in how the FBI conducted the investigation, including at least 17 inaccuracies and omissions in applications for surveillance on former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page.
You cannot surveil somebody unless you have proof they're a foreign agent. If I were Mr. Carter Page, I'd hire me a lawyer. I'd sue the hell out of the United States.
The FBI says it's taking more than 40 corrective actions.
It's an embarrassment to our country. It's dishonest. It's everything that a lot of people thought it would be, except far worse.
I'm Reed Binion reporting.
U.S. Attorney John Durham, who is leading Attorney General William Barr's probe of the origins of the Russia investigation, says his investigation is broader. He says, quote, "We advise the Inspector General that we do not agree with some of the report's conclusions as to predication and how the FBI case was opened." President Trump issuing a warning to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. In a tweet yesterday, President Trump said, quote, "Un is too smart and has far too much to lose. Everything, actually, if he acts in a hostile way." Well, the president's tweets came after reports that North Korea conducted a possible significant test at a missile site. It wasn't immediately clear, though, what was tested. Trump also said North Korea must denuclearize as promised. North Korea responding today to President Trump's warnings by issuing a warning of their own. North Korea firing back, stating that it might be Kim Jong-un's understanding of Trump that changes. Also saying, quote, "We have nothing more to lose." Streetcars facing harsh criticism, even here in Georgia.
They have the bottomless wallets of taxpayers to reach into. They can continue funding this into infinity.
We're breaking down why streetcars across the nation are steadily losing money and how it's costing you, the taxpayer. Happening now, Amazon alleging President Trump abused his position to apply improper pressure on Pentagon decision makers to stop Amazon from winning a military contract worth billions. A former protest was unsealed at the U.S. Court of Federal Claims today. It alleges Trump launched repeated public and behind-the-scenes attacks against Amazon to try to undermine its bid and hurt CEO Jeff Bezos. It claims Trump views Bezos as a political enemy because of his ownership of the Washington Post. The White House refusing to comment tonight. You won't see the Russian flag at next year's Olympics or the 2022 World Cup. The country's been banned from world sporting events for the next 4 years. Russia faces harsh penalties for allegedly trying to cover up Olympic doping and for its failure to comply with the international investigation. The World Anti-Doping Agency made its decision today after probing accusations Russian authorities tried to hide hundreds of potentially positive doping tests at a Moscow lab. The agency's chief says Russia had its chance to, quote, get its house in order. But the country's sports minister insists they did meet all of the agency's demands while accusing the agency of constantly changing its requirements.
They were becoming more and more demanding all the time in the roadmap, and then there were new decisions. More documents were required.
Well, the ban means Russia is not allowed to host any international sporting events. You could say we're in the middle of a streetcar renaissance with the old-fashioned transportation getting a modern reboot in many cities across the country. But critics say they're nothing more than vanity projects that waste your tax dollars. Josie Sturman has the bumpy road to streetcar success in this Spotlight on America report.
This is downtown Atlanta, where a sleek blue streetcar runs a nearly 3-mile loop. When you see it coming around and making this loop, what do you think?
I think, what a waste of money.
Benita Dodd with the Georgia Public Policy Foundation has called it a streetcar named disaster.
It's yesteryear's technology, it's yesteryear's transit.
And it's happening at modern cost. Atlanta's streetcar cost nearly $100 million, paid for in large part by taxpayers. Initially free, once people had to hand over $1 to hop on board, ridership dropped by more than 50%, but that didn't stop plans to expand it.
They have the bottomless wallets of taxpayers to reach into. They can continue funding this into infinity.
And cities across the country are getting on board with streetcars. David Williams with Taxpayers Protection Alliance has been counting how much it costs them.
There's streetcar envy. One city will see another city do a streetcar and they go, that looks beautiful, let's do that. And unfortunately, after millions of dollars are spent, they find out that it's a waste of money.
Hundreds of millions of dollars have been poured into Seattle streetcar, which loses money and made headlines when the city ordered cars that didn't fit on the tracks. In St. Louis, the operator of the streetcar had to ask for nearly $750,000 earlier this year just to keep the system running. And in Cincinnati, the $150 million streetcar was plagued by mechanical problems, mold, and lower than expected ridership. Still, some cities tout success despite the numbers. In D.C., where the streetcar took 9 years and $200 million to build, the mayor celebrated how the system helped to revitalize an underserved corridor.
We said at the start of the project that it would spur economic development along the corridor, and we can see that it has done exactly that.
And with its free ride, D.C.'s streetcar provides what some riders consider a valuable public transportation alternative.
I work here and I live not too far from here, so they can be helpful, just getting back and forth.
The only way I can think of to improve their efficiency would be to give them a dedicated lane, but it kind of seems like the ship has sailed on that one.
Still, streetcar projects sail on. Critics like Benita Dodd say, don't bother. How can they fix things?
Give up. And say to everybody else who is even thinking about a streetcar that it doesn't work. Spend your dollars on something wiser.
I'm Josie Sturman for Spotlight on America.
Current time 10:49 tonight. We are tracking our next weather maker right here in the Skywatch Weather Center, and it's going to bring us a wide range of weather conditions over the next couple of days. So let's break down what you're looking at here on the weather map. So first of all, the timeline is Tuesday and Wednesday, so tomorrow and Wednesday. And the core of this next weather maker is this cold front that will be pushing across the country. Ahead of it, very, very warm weather. Tomorrow, middle Georgia, mid and upper 70s. Southwest Georgia, low 80s. So incredibly warm tomorrow. Enjoy it if you're a fan of warm weather because it's only 1 day's worth. The cold front comes in. That'll bring some showers tomorrow evening and again through the day on Wednesday. Then behind it, chilly weather comes in. And so for Wednesday, our highs are back in the 50s. And by Thursday morning, our lows are back in the 30s. So over the span of 36 hours, we will go from low 80s in Southwest Georgia to lows in the 30s in middle Georgia. Woo. If you're not happy with Georgia weather in the winter, just wait a little while, right? All right, here's our simulated radar. Tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, middle Georgia, waking up to clouds, a little bit of fog, maybe some drizzle and mist, but no widespread rain. By the afternoon, I still don't think it's a washout, but we will have some showers roaming about the region, so keep that in mind for the evening commute. That'll move out tomorrow night. Then a second round of moisture comes in for the day on Wednesday, and that will settle in a little more, and we'll have a good scattering of light rain on Wednesday. In the end, we're not talking monumental rain totals, but just some dreary weather for the next couple of days. Then beyond that, a well-organized system comes in on Friday, and that'll put us up in the soaker range. We'll dry out for the weekend, and then more rain early next week. Let's go to southwest Georgia. Our simulated radar showing a few showers by tomorrow afternoon. I think we'll end up with more sunshine in southwest Georgia, so we'll call it a mix of sun and clouds. That rain chance will push through tomorrow evening. Then we'll get a few showers to come through during the day Wednesday under what will be a very gray sky for the middle part of the work week. Best rain chance would be north of Albany. Everyone has a chance of rain, but again, better rain chance Wednesday north of Albany. Let's zoom out 10 days. Best rain chance in southwest Georgia is Friday, again up in the soaker range. Dry for the weekend, and then another shot of rain by Tuesday of next week. Bottom line, keep the rain gear close by in the coming days. All right, here's what the 10-day forecast looks like. Middle Georgia, 70s tomorrow, 50s Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 60s are back this weekend. In southwest Georgia, 80 tomorrow, then the 50s Wednesday and Thursday, 60s are back for Friday and the weekend. Weekend in southwest Georgia looks really nice right now. We've got more news and weather coming up after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Current time 10:54. A new report says carbon emissions are still growing, but at a slightly slower pace. The Global Carbon Project says the rate of carbon emissions from fossil fuels is expected to increase this year by 0.6%. That's compared to 2.1% last year.
The economics is on our side. That yesterday's economy is a fossil fuel economy. Tomorrow's economy is actually a much better economy, and we actually know how to get there. So we have no excuses. The only problem is there are vested interests, there always will be, that will want things to stay the same, and we need leadership that will break through that impasse.
Now, the group says emissions still need to fall to net zero within the next few decades in order to meet the goals set in the Paris Agreement. Well, tonight we're talking climate change and politics. Economics. We had the politics there in the soundbite. Climate change and economy. One of the big turnoffs in recent years has always been it's so expensive. But today, things are becoming much more affordable. Solar and wind has always been somewhat affordable compared to battery storage. So you can get the energy, but how do you store it? Well, a decade ago, the cost for battery storage was off the chart. But today, it is much closer to that of solar and wind, so it's all becoming a little more economical. The problem is Georgia's behind the 8 ball now. We're not producing as much solar and wind compared to other states, and so we've got to play catch up now. But hopefully, as it becomes more economical and our legislators get on board with this, we can start to increase the amount of wind and solar that we're contributing to the network. Aaron?
Tonight, the Wilcox County FFA held a contest for Best Decorated Hay Bale, and they were actually raising money for Christmas gifts to give to children. We spoke to a few of them today who are pretty excited about helping others.
We did it for Christmas for Kids, and it's for kids in our community who need Christmas presents and all that.
I was involved in selling some of the hay bales. I sold one hay bale to the Spanish Club, and they made one of the hay bales down there.
We raised $380. The hay bales were $40 a piece, and then if you look down there at the very bottom, there's Snowman. There's 2 hay bales, and you can get 2 of those for $60.
All right, how about that? Raising some money for Christmas gifts this time of year, and looks like having a little fun doing it too.
No doubt about it. Good calls down there in Wilcox County.
All right, that's all the time we have on this Monday evening as we start a new work week. We appreciate you watching.
Daily Mail is coming up next. Have a great night.